This is a 3-minute portion of oral communication, public comments. So my first speaker will be Arsene Arakel and then Peter Rusch. Arsene?
Good afternoon, distinguished mayor, council members. My name is Arsene Arakel. I'm an Armenian American from Glendale. Glendale is a strong city. We are strong because we're so diverse. We're strong because of how unified we are. We're strong because of our beliefs. Today I'm here because I stand with the Korean Americans that are representing the interests of the grandmothers from the Comfort Women issue. This isn't a broadly broadcasted issue. It is near and dear to our hearts because today, as we stand here today and hear all of these preparations to prepare for awareness and address the open wounds of the Armenians that were victimized by the Ottoman Turks, the 200,000 plus Korean women and others were victimized by the Japanese government during World War II. They were taken as sex slaves. They were held against their will. The Japanese government till this day denies it. Recently, there was an announcement, not so much as an agreement, but an announcement. That announcement did not specify that they are taking accountability for the underlying act. It specifically is arbitrary and allows the Japanese government to continue to deny and go to the United Nations and shift the burden and blame to the Koreans and state that they were prostitutes. The announcement keeps the wounds open, it pours salt on their wounds, and it is a slap in their face. The Korean grandmothers were not so much as a party to this announcement, nor were their representatives a party. None of their demands were met. It is sad, but I stand here today asking that the wonderful city of Glendale that has been so supportive of the grandmothers in their interests and representing their demands stand with the grandmothers, irrespective of what the politics that has surrounded the issue. The underlying merits to this announcement need further review prior to any commendations or any rewards against the perpetrators. I ask that you be mindful that any act that is taken by the council members will be reflected upon, because now we are on the map. Glendale is on the map because it was at the forefront in putting a statute in the Western Hemisphere to commemorate this issue in Glendale. That it was a huge step. Now, any commendation would be against it and be a case precedent. Thank you.
Kim, followed by Chang Lee.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Phyllis Kim, and I am one of the activists from KAFC who have been working closely, actually, with the City of Glendale since 2012 to bring the issue of the comfort woman to the attention of the City of Glendale, which took it to the heart and has been a very strong supporter of the victims since then. Since we started working with City of Glendale, we were met, and the City of Glendale were met with a staunch opposition from the history deniers and the very narrow nationalistic views coming from Japan. We didn't bring this issue because we wanted a national interest or nationalistic interest be put on the City of Glendale, because it was a universal human rights issue and because it was important for all women. That's why we brought it here, and that's why you took it to the heart. I still remember the day, the special hearing in 2013, where more than 100 history deniers filled this chamber right here and claimed one after another that the grandmas were prostitutes and they were volunteers to become sex slaves. On that day, the number, we were outnumbered, and I was really concerned, but I still vividly remember that the strong comments coming from you, coming from the council members Laura Friedman, Zara Sinanian, Ara Najarian, and now retired Frank Quintero, that they will stand strong with the victims for the human rights of the victims. And I was so touched that day, and the whole Korean community, as well as the affected community from 10 other countries, were very appreciative of the actions Glendale took. Since then, Glendale was sued, and we stood with Glendale to fight against the lawsuit. And since the agreement was announced, I want to ask, where does the lawsuit stand? Has it been withdrawn? Because Japanese government is supposedly admitted the accountability. No, it is still denying, and it is the agreement actually requires the removal of the comfort woman statue in Seoul. Exactly the same thing that is standing in here, Glendale, that it is the spit in the face of the victims, and we urge you to stand with the victims, not the perpetrators who are still denying the truth and who are trying to cover up the history. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fanny.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. This year marks the 5th commemoration of Comfort Women Day. Glendale City is the only city in the United States, in the world, to have such a day commemorating 할머니's, grandmas. For the past 5 years, the city and council members, you have stood bravely, strongly, and firmly to protect the human rights issue and also to protect the peace statue. We, Korean community, really appreciate your efforts in that. There was a comment made by former Mayor, Councilmember Ara Nazarian, last council meeting, and I couldn't understand where it's coming from. Armenian genocide has been going on for 100 years without any recognition for the historical truth. Whereas I believe that he thought this agreement itself is a Japanese own admission of guilt to such act. First time facing up to such event. Yes, the agreement does not serve the grandmas. The details of the agreement has not been carried out, and the government of Japanese government has still not living up to the agreement and denying some of the facts. But the fact is that I think there's a misunderstanding here, in that the city and the council members here have not changed the position. It is coming from your heart, and it'll be really in the past, now, and in the future, for you to protect the human rights, women and human rights issues, and the peace in the world. And I strongly believe that. I think it is wise for you to make the statement again tonight, to make sure that our community does not have these wrong ideas in their head that the Glendale City is turning our back on them. So with that, again, I want to thank you, council members, thank you, the city. Your bold moves have delivered a message to the rest of the world that our tri-cities against human rights will not be condoned. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments?
Are we commenting after?
Yes, you can, yeah.
Are there more comments in this vein, or
Well.
are we going to hear them after the meeting?
That's the end. That's all of them. And if you'd like to comment, you may.
Well, no, I'd like to start out, because I think a lot of this is based on my comments last week. Just a little bit of history. It was through our Man's Inhumanity to Man commemoration about 6 years ago that we heard from one of the Halmonis, Grandma Lee, who came and told us about her suffering. And shortly thereafter, the entire Glendale City Council, those who were on the council or not even yet on the council, came together to commemorate and acknowledge the pain and the suffering that they endured. And that led, of course, to our Comfort Women statue. It led to a Comfort Women Day. And no other city in the Western Hemisphere has committed as much toward recognizing the comfort women than the city of Glendale. And I understand the pain of comfort women. You saw just a short clip of what the Armenian people have suffered. 1.5 million were massacred. My great-grandmother, rather than be raped by the Turkish soldiers, drowned herself in the Euphrates River to escape. So let it not for a moment be thought that I have no sympathy for the comfort women. But what I am recognizing are several years of hard diplomacy between the Republic of Korea, between the government of Japan. And I've met the president of Korea, President Park. And I was happy that the two sides were able to take steps towards recognition. And I know what it's like to have no recognition for an atrocity. The Armenian people have lived with it for 101 years, and even longer in some other genocides. So I wanted to acknowledge that the two sides had come together. Not that the issue in any way made full compensation to the grandmas. I didn't have a seat at that table, but the Republic of Korea did, and so did the government of Japan. And together they made statements, which I read partly last week. And President Obama applauded the efforts. And Secretary of State John Kerry applauded those efforts. And National Security Advisor Susan Rice applauded those efforts. I don't think it's fair that there's any amount of protest or indignation leveled at the city of Glendale. We've been leaders, we've been strong. We don't represent the grandmas. Your government does. And they saw fit to come to terms. Maybe there are more agreements to be made. Maybe there are more actions to be filed. It's a continuing process. But I want everyone to realize that it's the city of Glendale is not turning its back on the comfort women, but we are acknowledging diplomacy and efforts at seeking a resolution to this. And that was the context and the thrust of my remarks last time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Friedman.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out, and I don't know if there'll be more speakers later, but I just want to say that I think that Mr. Najarian was, giving his thoughts. I haven't met with the president of Korea. I think it was an honor that someone from the Glendale Council was given that opportunity, so I'm glad to hear that. So I'm not sure that I'm quite as optimistic about this deal. But I just want to say to the activists who came out that I think you should keep doing what you're doing, and I think that you should keep pushing for reparations and for more acknowledgement of the truth, and to make sure that politics doesn't get in the way of history and remembrance and recognition and reparations. And what you've done has gone a long way. And I know that what the little city of Glendale has done has made international news. And that's because of your efforts, and the City Council, of course, but really because of your efforts. So I want to thank you for that, because I'm personally very, very proud to have played a small part in it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Yeah, whatever the governments of South Korea and Japan did is probably good for both countries. They're neighboring countries. Despite their disagreements from my visit to Korea, I understood that there's a lot of trade that takes place. There's a lot of cultural exchange. Tourism is flourishing between the two countries. And a level of normalcy is only to be expected between them. It doesn't change anything about comfort women. It happened. It's a historical fact. We acknowledged it by establishing this day of commemoration, and we have the Comfort Women Memorial, and as far as I'm concerned, it's going to stay there, and so is the day. So it's not an issue. I don't understand what Korea and Japan reaching a resolution has anything to do with us, and us honoring the memory of the Halmanis. That's it.
Yes, also like to thank all of you for coming tonight. I was not on the council when my former council members and some of the current ones voted for this issue. The comfort women issue, I was in support of it then, and I'm in support of it today. And I'm proud to say that Glendale is a big advocate of human rights, as well as condemning crimes against humanity. And with our Armenian American Museum coming to the Central Park, to the same location, both cultures can be part of something larger, which is recognizing the crimes that happen against humanities and condemning them. And again, I think this council has been very vocal about their position, and our position stands.
And for the sake of time, we have a long agenda. I just want to say that I want to reassure all of you that Glendale and this council, myself included, have not abandoned you. We have not abandoned the Comfort Women. We will stand with you and continue to stand with you. Thank you all for being here. Next item.